Getting a VDI platform live is day 1. This lesson is about day 2, running it well for years afterward, which is a genuinely different discipline. We'll build a recurring capacity and cost review cadence, define digital employee experience tooling and why it exists, separate infrastructure metrics from what users actually feel, write service level objectives that mean something, and put together a lightweight runbook so operations don't depend on one person's memory. This closes out Module 6 by tying monitoring, image lifecycle, and troubleshooting into an actual operating rhythm. A lot of otherwise well-built VDI platforms quietly decay after launch. Capacity that was right-sized at go-live drifts wrong as usage patterns change. Costs creep upward as autoscale plans sit untouched for a year. Logon times climb slowly enough that nobody notices until users start complaining loudly all at once. And the one engineer who actually understood the environment eventually moves on. Day 2 operations, the discipline this lesson covers, is specifically what prevents all 4 of those failure modes. Module 3 taught you to build autoscale plans and reason about sizing at design time. Day 2 operations means revisiting those decisions on a cadence, monthly for cost, quarterly for the deeper capacity structure, because headcount, session patterns, Azure pricing, and your license mix never stay fixed. Check actual peak concurrency against your autoscale ramp-up and ramp-down schedule, track cost per active user as a trend over time rather than a single snapshot, and reuse the monitoring data from Lesson 1 rather than standing up new tooling. Here's the trap. A platform can look perfectly healthy on every infrastructure dashboard, low CPU, low disk queue, autoscale behaving exactly as configured, while users are quietly miserable because logons take 90 seconds or applications stutter. Infrastructure metrics describe the state of the machines. User experience metrics describe what the employee actually felt. Both matter, but a team that only watches infrastructure dashboards will consistently be the last to find out about a real problem. This is exactly the gap digital employee experience, or DEX, tooling exists to close. DEX platforms aggregate telemetry across endpoints, sessions, and applications specifically to surface what users are actually experiencing, often correlated back to the infrastructure cause. 3 current, category-leading examples worth knowing by name: Omnissa Intelligence, a cross-platform telemetry and automation service; NextThink, which combines technical monitoring with employee sentiment data; and ControlUp, which monitors experience across VDI, physical endpoints, and cloud environments. NextThink and Omnissa were named leaders in the 2026 Gartner Magic Quadrant for this category, and ControlUp remains one of the most widely deployed VDI-focused options. You don't need all 3 of those tools, or even one, to run a healthy platform. What you do need is something measuring the user experience layer specifically. A dedicated DEX platform is one valid way to get that signal. Building your own logon time telemetry out of the WVD connections table you already learned in Lesson 1 is another, perfectly legitimate way. The point isn't which specific tool you pick, it's that you have a real signal for what users are feeling, not just what your infrastructure is reporting. A service level objective is only useful if it's measurable, tied to real user experience, and realistic over a defined window rather than an aspirational absolute nobody can hit. 2 worth adopting almost everywhere: session availability, the percentage of connection attempts that succeed end-to-end, targeted around 99.5% over a rolling 30-day window, and logon time, measured at the 95th percentile rather than the average, because an average hides the worst experiences behind a sea of fast logons, and the 95th percentile is usually where the real complaints are coming from. A runbook doesn't need to be exhaustive to be useful. It needs to cover the handful of situations that happen often enough to matter and are painful enough that improvising them live at 2 a.m. is a bad idea. That's a health check pointing at your Lesson 1 dashboard, drain and replace steps for an unhealthy host, an FS Logic's triage checklist, and a clear rule for when to escalate to Microsoft versus fix it yourself. Pair every entry with the SLO it protects, so on-call has both what to do and why it matters, in writing, not in one person's head. Putting it together, set a monthly cost and capacity review plus a deeper quarterly structural review, both reusing data you already have. Pick at least one real user experience signal, DX platform, or homemade logon telemetry, so you're never blind to what users feel. Write two SLOs, session availability, and 95th percentile logon time, and make them visible. Build a short runbook covering the recurring scenarios from this module, and store it somewhere the whole team can find, not in one engineer's memory. That combination is what separates a platform that launched well from one that stays healthy for years.